India has announced that it has reached an agreement with China regarding patrolling along the Line of Actual Control or LAC in eastern Ladakh. This is seen as a major breakthrough in ending the over 4-year-long military standoff between the two countries. It also paves way for a likely meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese President on the sidelines of the BRICS summit in Russia this week.
Now, as a result of the discussions that have taken place over the last several weeks, an agreement has been arrived at on patrolling arrangements along the line of actual control in the India-China border areas. And this is leading to disengagement and eventually a resolution of the issues that had arisen in these areas in 2020.
Following the agreement, Indian and Chinese soldiers will be able to resume patrolling as they did before the border standoff began in 2020. This agreement will also facilitate Indian troops patrolling in Depsang and Demchok up to the old patrolling points.
As far as the significance on the line of actual control is concerned, last 5 or 4 winters, the troops were deployed in very high altitude and very areas which were very inhospitable. If these agreements are worked out, I think there will be a scope for disengagement and de-escalation, and they will move back from the line of actual control, which during the harsh winters will be a positive development.
The tensions between the two Asian giants escalated following a fierce clash in Galwan Valley in June 2020, marking the most critical military conflict between India and China in decades. Since then, both sides have disengaged from several friction points through a series of military and diplomatic talks over the past few years. However, these discussions ultimately reached a deadlock in resolving the situation along the line of actual control.
I think it's a good development. It's a positive development, and I would say it's a product of very patient and very persevering diplomacy. That, at various points of time, people almost gave up. You can say, this has happened. So we have always maintained that, on the one hand, we had to obviously do the counter deployments, but side by side, we have been negotiating. We've been negotiating, in fact, since September of 2020, when I met my counterpart, Mr. Wangi, in Moscow at that time. So it has been a very patient process, maybe more complicated than it could and should have been, but whatever it is, the fact is, if we are able, as we now have, to reach an understanding regarding patrolling, regarding maintaining the observing the sanctity of the LAC, then I think what it does is it creates a basis that the peace and tranquility, which there should be in the border areas, which there was before 2020, hopefully we will be able to come back to that peace and tranquility.
According to reports, the People's Liberation Army of China had intruded into territories patrolled by India.
The core issue is that China made some land grabs on Indian territory. And for the relationship to become normal, for India and China to build mutually beneficial cooperation, it's imperative for China to roll back its encroachments. So patrolling arrangements of any kind cannot obscure the real issue. The real issue is Chinese land grabs, and that issue needs to be resolved.
According to experts, the patrolling agreement not only lays the groundwork for strengthening relations between India and China, but also encourages constructive discussions between the two nations ahead of the BRICS summit in Kazan.